Hey, here's some true talk. My husband and I, it's just us, and a lot of times we're tired and we don't want to cook. So we have takeout and dine in a lot of times, especially for me from lunch because I'm trying to be on the clock and I'm trying not to take a lot of time making lunch. So that's what we typically do. And I've been trying to use up the produce that we grew. So I am making some squash soup. I was the oldest of 4 in our household, and the younger sibs, they're like about a year and a half younger, and then 12 and 14 years younger. And mom worked and dad worked, so a lot of times the cooking fell to me, and I'm scared to death of hot stuff now, because there were a lot of times when I cooked for all of us, I would burn myself. And it was scary. And so that has led me to be afraid to be in the kitchen. Just trying to be honest here, keeping it real. And so, a couple tricks I've learned. This top right here. So I have the soup simmering. I have all the ingredients for the soup simmering. And then when they're done, when they're cooked, I'm going to use the immersion blender and blend it all up. But this came from the inside of a, canning kettle. They're inserts for canning kettles, so you can put like a bunch of jars down below. You can put your insert, and then you can put more jars on top. But I love it as like a splash guard, a steam guard. I love it. So I can just take it off and take a look. I think that's simmering. I had to do a lot of the cooking, but I wasn't very good at it, and it was usually box meals, so like box mac and cheese and things like that. So it was simple to cook, but I didn't learn like nuances. So I think that's simmering. Anyway, so I'm using this now to keep it as a splash guard, a heat guard. And then before, when I've made this kind of soup, I've had to put it in the blender. This is plastic for us. I think it's our second or third blender now. And that's kind of where my fear comes in too. So like when I'm doing my canning, that's the biggest thing I have to struggle with my brain is, oh my gosh, I'm going to get burnt. That's what my brain keeps saying. We're going to get burnt. We shouldn't do this. It's scary. So what I have done in the past is I've taken the soup ingredients that are cooked down and I've ladled them into the blender, small portions at a time, blended it all up, put it back in the pot, took more and put it in there. So multiple trips back and forth. And you can see too, there's a big old gap in between my little table and the stove top. So this time, this will be the first time I've used an immersion blender. Like I've seen it, people using it all the time on YouTube, and I never tried it yet. So I'm going to try this, and I'm hoping that this is going to be the ticket to being able to cook more soups, because I love soups. They are hot, they are filling, they reheat well. I can just pop them in the microwave and for lunches. And they're good to keep me going. So, anyhow, that's what I'm shooting for today. Oh, and I did use dehydrated stuff, which is exciting. So these were yellow onion slices. And just a couple rings of jalapeno, because it called for 1 jalapeno pepper. And then these are carrots. These were like just chopped up carrots and dehydrated. All of them were dehydrated. And because they're going to be in this liquid, they're going to get nice and soft too. So that's going to be so exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Here's a little jalapeno right there. Jalapeno on a stick. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. It's an experiment. I've got butternut and, I have Buttercup and, the Japanese squash, the Kabocha. And then these are some, you can see some of these onions. Oops, I did see some onions that rehydrated well. Little pieces of them, you can see. And some carrots. They usually do pretty well. The dehydrated stuff usually does pretty well in soups, as long as they can cook down for a little while. Love it. So that's exciting. Oh, and then these are just potatoes that were peeled and chopped coarsely. They said chopped coarsely. I hope that's what that means. Like I said, I don't know much about the kitchen, but we'll see how it turns out after they get all cooked up. apparently the recipe says, whoops, to add some cream to it, which is fine. I don't have a dairy issue. Oh, and that's what I did is I have a little conversion thing, a little conversion table. And so I took like, this called for like 3/4 cup coarsely chopped onion, hard to read in the dark. And then I just calculated how much it would be dehydrated. I did the same for the carrots and the same for the jalapeno. And then I don't have chicken stock and I didn't want to use just water. So I used dry bouillon, and the dry bouillon says 1 tablespoon for 1 cup water. So yeah, so here's my experiment for today. Still have, what does it say? Yep, 18 minutes for this to simmer. Hopefully that's a simmer. I turned it down from 6 to like 3. I hope that's a simmer. We'll see. And then after that is done, after the timer goes off, I'll come in and do the immersion blender and add the cream. I believe it's right after that. And see how it turns out. Salt and pepper, they say. We'll see how it turns out. It should have a little bit of a bite too, which will be delicious. But like I said, we're normally carry out and dine in kind of people. This is biscuits from Bob Evans here. There's classic Little Caesars, but I do want to try a little bit more of the natural way. We'll see.